Welcome to Nonstop Vinyl Rock Talk. I'm your host, Tyson Bryden. Today, I'm very happy to welcome Mark Slaughter to the show. Mark, it's a pleasure. How's it going?
Hey there. Pleasure. It's great here, man. Great. Hey to Canada.
Hey, Canada.
We love Canada.
Awesome.
Love. Yeah, we love it. We love it.
I mean, the one and only time I saw...
Spent a lot of time up there.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, I saw Slaughter on the Fear No Evil tour with Warren and Vince Neil. Yeah.
Right. It's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Good show.
It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that it's crazy. When you're living a life, you're not thinking about it. And people are like, yeah, I was there. And you're like, oh yeah. It's a weird position as an entertainer because, when you're out and about, you just think you're doing life, but your life is, on the stage. So you don't think about it,
All I remember is how
pretty
loud
cool. It was some good times.
You guys were loud.
Yeah.
I remember that.
We notoriously get sound men that they're never scared of the faders. We're always like, you should feel it, If you can feel it, then it's going to be right, So we've always been a loud band.
That's cool. Now,
learn that from the Who.
Yeah, that's true, right?
Yeah.
That's true. Exactly. They were loud too. I've never saw them, but I hear they're very loud.
Yeah, AC/DC. I mean, there's a lot of bands. It's just, it's funny because there's some people who, there's some bands. Sorry, I'm multitasking here, burning down some backgrounds.
Okay.
There's some bands that, they just, they don't push that experience. We just love to feel. I love to feel bass. I love to feel it in my body. So when I toured with Iron Maiden when I was in the Vinnie Vincent Invasion a million years ago, they had an actual on the side of the stage. They had 3 tiers of what they call turbo cabinets. So they're essentially PA cabinets as side fills. So if you hit a kick drum, you could stand in front of it and your pant leg would move from the sound pressure. So it's kind of like you get spoiled with clean, clear, but you could feel the bass sound. And that just ruined me for the rest of my career because, you get used to that type of pressure, So,
that's awesome.
But send that off the Maiden guys. They screwed me for life on that one.
That's awesome. Now, I'm not going to mention a whole lot about Vinnie Vincent Invasion, but I did notice a week ago or so that it was the 33rd anniversary of All Systems Go. I was like, wow, I can't believe that.
Yeah, I can't either. I mean, it's just, I was just a kid, going into that and, a great experience, love that record. There's a lot of good times that I had to that record. But it was a stepping stone into, what Slaughter did. And, but I don't run from it. Some people run from who they played with and what they did, but, I was pleased to be a part of it all. Bobby and Dana were great. Vinny's Vinny, and he's a talented guy, but stands in his own way.
Yeah. I actually had Bobby on the show a few months back, and we actually went through All Systems Go. We went like more or less track by track through it. It was a lot of fun. There's a lot of, we talked about the music and the recording more than talking about Vinny because I really didn't want to go there. I wanted to talk about the album itself. Yeah,
I mean, it is what it is. Everybody knows what that situation is. And exactly. Again, it doesn't mean that the music's not good. Have good memories attached to it, Bobby and I both, we had good times of that music, Yeah.
And a buddy of mine.
In fact, one of the Vinnie Vincent shows was actually recorded at Rock and Roll Heaven. That's one of the few shows that is even available on YouTube. That was bizarre when that popped up. I remember when the camera was there, but I didn't think about it. I was just like, I'm recording, who cares? And that's really the only video that I know of those songs with that lineup.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. It really is, but it was cool.
Actually,
Again,
Bobby and I talked about that. That place is long gone.
Uh-huh.
But Bobby and I talked about that show, and I said, it's awesome. He goes, because he doesn't like the drums on it.
Right. Well, I mean, we can all pick apart, your performance. And again, YouTube is not the best representation. It's like putting a recorder in your toilet, and going in the other room. It really just never sounds right. It never conveys properly. Again, per our conversation of bass and all the things and feeling the music, you just don't get any of that. There's no,
that's right.
There's no physical aspect to it at all, which is part of live music, is the physical, push and pull of it.
Well, I mean, it's just, it's cool to see and I told him that. I said, it's just cool to see as a fan because of that legacy of the Vinnie Vincent invasion. And there not really being a lot of live stuff out there.
That's it. That's the only one that I know of that, unless somebody wants to bring it forward and share it with us, but that's the only one that I know of. But again, it is what it is. And those songs carry a lot of good memories for all of us, really do.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is that Bobby mentioned that the original version of Ashes to Ashes, that guitar solo. So I looked that up on YouTube, and man, that is a long guitar solo on the original, the one that didn't make the record. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That is nuts.
Yeah, no, he Vinny was really trying to push. I'm a guitar player. I do this, but we're all about as a music public. It's about the songs. It's about about how the songs make you feel. AC/DC has a lot of solos, but you feel it. It's a different feeling.
It's a different vibe
than somebody who's, just ripping. Yeah. And again, he does that well, but it comes a point where, look what I can do doesn't really, matter,
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective,
hold my beer and watch this.
Exactly. Well, from my perspective, I was like, okay, I play guitar and I love to hear guitar, but it was a lot. It was just like, oh man, that's a long solo, right?
Yeah.
It's not.
It is. Yeah.
Absolutely. And those were good songs, and I can see why it had to be cut because it was just a little too long. Now, a buddy of mine.
Well, and that was the problem.
Yeah,
that was the problem. Some of those edits on that side of it, he was not happy with the label wanting him to cut those solos, and because that was his art. And I understand that is for him, but at the same time, it's about the songs. Ultimately, it's about your songs and how it resonates with the people, not like just a guitar virtuoso thing. Unless it's Jeff Beck, but you're just going to see that.
That's right. Yeah, that's so true. Now, a buddy of mine mentioned this to me, and I don't know if you're aware of this. My buddy mentioned that Kiss had demoed Back in the Streets on Lick It Up. Have you ever heard anything in regards to that?
No, I never heard that. So no, I've never heard that. No, I know that there was another version of it
by Ace, right?
With
or John
Norum. Yeah, John Norum had it too, and it's a good song, and he had a certain way that he wanted to hear the song anyway, so he sang it instead of Robert Fleischman. They were just saying half of it, But and Robert had a great voice. I mean, Robert's he was awesome.
Did you when you did it live?
He just didn't want to tour.
Right, he didn't want to tour. Did he when you did it live, or did you do it live with Vinnie Vincent? Did you ever do?
Oh, I did all the vocals live. Yeah, As soon as the first record was done, they threw me in the mix, and I was teaching guitar in Las Vegas, and Dana called me and said, "Look, I think you're going to get this. Let's record you singing these songs." And it was more so for the label to hear it, besides just Vinny, because Vinny had been talking to other vocalists at the time, and then the record label said, "Let's go with the kid." Yeah. So in essence, I think that the part of the pressure was from Jeff Aldrich, who basically did those UFO records, was the guy who said, let's go with the kid. And about a month later, my guitar was in the stand, here's a microphone. Vinny's like, change your hair color to a blonde. There's no, lead singers who have dark hair, which, I said, well, Steven Tyler does, but that didn't matter. That was the trend at the time. And so, next thing you know, I'm just, baptism by fire. My first show was about a month and a half after that. And I was just a lead singer with a microphone in my hand. So, I'd been stripped of what I knew as my security blanket.
Right.
And then I got to learn as to be a lead singer, because it is, a totally different aspect as a performer than it is when you have a guitar and you're strapping on or ripping and doing your thing. And even in Slaughter, I don't do that as much as I would do here. Because there's an entertainment aspect that a lead singer is, you're trying to drive a crowd, again, Bruce Dickinson, think about the people I've dealt with, Ozzy Osbourne, Paul Stanley does it with the guitar, but, half the time it's just kind of hanging there. He's one of the few that had a guitar on that was, didn't have it through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Again, you look at all those lead singers, and they were commanders, man. They went out there and commanded an audience and made a difference.
That's awesome. Now, let's talk some vinyl. It kind of floored me because, it kind of floored me because it came out of nowhere. The reissue of Fear No Evil.
Yeah.
I mean, me just imagining that. I mean, that cover, right? That's a great cover.
Right.
Now, how did this all come about?
Jason and Joe, they did a thing with Ace. They did a record with Ace with the Kiss My Wax thing, and they knew the Slaughter catalog as good as, if not better than we did. Oh. And they said, we really want to do something special. We want to do this box set. There's not a lot of money. We all basically, cards up, said, this is what we can do. And the money to make all this stuff is a fortune to do it the way we're doing it. So there's really no huge profit margin, even though it's a very expensive box set, because of all the stuff that's in it. And the fact that we went and searched and found some old demos of those songs. So, I mean, we're really trying to bring in a time capsule, not just for the fans, but for ourselves, to say, this is what it was. This is the best way to convey that. And we're only doing 500 of them. Yeah. The actual album will go out and it'll be what it is, but the 500 of those are, I think there's only like 140 left at this moment during this interview, if there are any left much after this, but that's 500 of them that are gone. And
looks amazing. And
it was a great experience. I mean, we were approached by them.
Right. I didn't order the box set because I wasn't sure with the exchange and whatnot. And so anyway, I ordered just the normal vinyl. Well, the shipping to Canada was as much as the vinyl. It was crazy.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, shipping to Canada is just.
It's like, oh well.
Maybe we should all just do a record run. We'll do record runs across the border, go to Buffalo and sneak it over.
Exactly.
It's just like, my God, man. Yeah, it's just too much, man.
Yeah, because really after I paid for it on PayPal, I was like, oh, I looked at it and I go, oh. And then I was like, well, why did it cost so much? Oh, the shipping was $45, right? And I was like, well, whatever.
Wow.
It is what it is.
Wow.
What are you going to do?
Well, I appreciate you doing that, but I mean, it's sadly that's the problem with all this. Yeah. We even had it to where I totally get that. I mean, it's not right. Us, you guys in the cool loft over our party down here is shouldn't be. We're all connected as far as I'm concerned.
I agree. I totally agree. Now, I assume you've seen a test pressing of it.
Test pressing? No, not yet. We just finished up all the demos, and transferring all that. That's been a lot. we've actually took the demos, came off DATs and cassettes and all kinds of other stuff to put that stuff together. So test pressing, I think, is going to be in a couple of weeks.
Cool.
But
That's
again, in that aspect of it, it's going to take a while. The wait on doing this record, I think, is a couple of months just to get into the pressing side of it. So I think they'll do more, we have it being mastered for vinyl, so it'll be right. It came off DAT, so it'll be done properly and not just, like a lot of people just throw it out there. So it'll sound right.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Now, you mentioned the demos, and I don't know if you even want to discuss it. I'm just curious, is it the demos of the songs that are on the album, or is it like the
That's
ones
correct.
Okay,
demos of this record. And the demos and that stuff that we can find that we're looking for on all our other stuff is for those other Revolution or Stick It To Ya and Wildlife. I mean, we do have the demos on some of those. So, we'll approach that when we get there. But right now we're focused on the demos of the recordings of doing this. We would write songs, demo them, and a lot of times our demos would sound, like records. We really painstakingly would try to at least show what the song would be before we would do it. And then again, let's say it's, 82 beats per minute. We want to bump it up to 84 beats a minute. It's just it's the refinements of that and re-recording. So there are differences in the timing and some lyrical changes maybe, or some vocal inflections, or guitar solos are going to be different. Guitar is going to, more time spent on, locking it in. So, inevitably the records sound better, but the demos aren't shabby. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, because the demos on the Wildlife and Stick It To You that were available on the re-release, they sound great. They'll sound great, right?
No, thanks. Yeah.
But I mean,
the thing is we're a different type of band because, a lot of bands would have outside producers, outside writers, outside, people that would make, their trip happen. Well, it was internal. It was all within the band, whether the production or the writing, it was all within the band. So that changes the whole dynamics, that it is us under control of this, as opposed to a guy who's, wearing a suit at a record company saying, no, I want this. I want to change that. I mean, again, going back to VVI days, that's what I think was upsetting to Vinny, is because they changed what his art form was, whether you like it or not. That was what he wanted to do. We had free form. Yeah. Do what you guys want to do, because they knew we had lived through that and knew that it was important for us to have the songs. So it was just kind of a unwritten rule, Yeah. Well, this record was actually recorded and it was put out. It was recorded. It wasn't put out, but it was finished under the EMI moniker. So there was about 50 or so test pressings, CD-wise, of that record that never went out to anybody.
Well, I remember when Metal Edge posted the track listing back in before when you guys were still on EMI, and that's why I kind of alluded to those demos, because the Hard Times. The Japanese, whatever you call it, the single, I guess it would be. I mean, Saturday Night is on there, and She Knows How to Rumble and Rain On. So that's what I was kind of curious about.
We brought those forward. Yeah, we brought those forward. Those are some of the ones we brought forward.
Yeah, and I remember those actually
from the DATs.
Oh, okay, cool. And I remember those actually being in that array of songs that Metal Edge had posted, which I thought was crazy. And then getting the album.
And Saturday night, it was really the full demo. I mean, we're just, Tim did Saturday night with his band out in LA, and he said, "Man, people love when you play that song. Let's play that song. So finally, we're like, all right, So we went in and just, did the song, like the original, no changes really.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the lyrics of it. I'm singing the lyrics. What the demo is me actually singing the lyrics off the lyric sheet. I mean, I didn't know.
That's cool.
It's kind of like karaoke style, just going in there and singing it and then doing the backgrounds. But there wasn't a lot of time spent. The drums on that demo, I think, were electronic because that's how we were doing it, just to work through the songs.
Yeah.
So it's a different sound on the drums on that. But, look, those are the stages of what you do to try to get to figure out what you're going to do. And then we didn't put it on the record or actually re-record it. We just threw the demo out last minute.
They're good though. They sound, I've always loved this. I've had it for years and I've always loved those songs. And it was one of those things where, because I had read that Metal Edge article, I was like, oh, I'd love to hear those songs.
Right.
So I tracked this down, right, which was cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
It actually specifies that was on that original one. So that is actually the Hard Time single, as you call it, is exactly what people will know that it came from, because it's going to be written in the liners that it came from. Cool. That.
That's very cool.
So yeah. So, some of that, in other words, previously unreleased, but it was released here. So
that's awesome. And then
some of the, but you'll dig it though. I mean, it's so crazy to go back and listen to these original, the original form of doing these songs, because you're just, you start at A, B, C, D, E, F, and then you wind up on R when you think you're going to go to L, so you just keep adding and layering and doing the, as an artist. And it's pretty cool, man. So it's a nice timeline as a songwriter to see where it came from and where it went.
That's awesome. I mean, I also have the Japanese copy of Fear No Evil with the alternate cover. Right. And then For Your Dreams is on that. And I don't even remember how that song goes. I think I've only listened to this a few times because I always had the other one. For Your Dreams
is it was interesting. It was just such a great vibe. We I wrote lyrics to it. We tried it, and I just said, man, I said, it's like when you get into like Led Zeppelin stuff where it just feels good, and you just want to hear the music. You don't want to hear somebody just rambling through it, or just part of the music just spoke. And so we ended up just using the music. And I said, let's just call it For Your Dreams, because everybody has their dreams and they have the things where they get lost into this or melancholy. It takes them to that place. And that's really what that song meant to us. And we really never went back to try to put anything to it because there was nothing that made sense that would enhance the song as opposed to take away from the music that was already there.
Right. Now, the question I did have, you alluded to EMI. After the album's done, they decide they're not going to put it out. Did they just, you guys negotiated and they said, here's your masters? And
they had sold it. It was, there was a lot of turmoil going on. Chrysalis Records was sold. Right. It was a hostile buyout from EMI, and then EMI wasn't sure what they were going to do. EMI is just like a defunct company. It's not even there anymore.
That's right.
It was already kind of a sinking ship in that side of it, and they were just trying to figure out what they could do to make their company survive. And I think that the grunge era was in full blown. It was 95 at that time, so it was kind of like. It was just a different time. People were unsure what was selling. Record companies weren't going to take that risk. And Tom Lipsky had a label called CMC International. Yep. And he reached out to us and said, hey, what are you guys doing? And we said, we have a record. So we ended up getting the record from EMI, and because they had no, at that point, they had no, how should I put it? they didn't take care of their artist or the employees of the company. We knew a lot of people that were getting fired, and it was like, God, man, all these really talented people that were, part of the promotion team. I mean, it's in the old days of records, of doing records, it was everybody in marketing and publicity and every aspect of it. When you start seeing your friends lose their job and you're going, man, we're next. I mean, you just feel it, people are jumping off. Chris Wright, which is the Chris and Chrysalis, it was Chris Wright and Terry Ellis that started the label with a band called Jethro Tull back in the early years. They were actually managing the band. They couldn't get a deal, so they started a label to showcase the band. And that's where the label started and kept going. Terry Ellis ended up jumping out of it, and Chris remained president and owner of the label. And then he sold part of it to EMI. And then when the hostile buyout happened, it's like, we were with Chris, when it happened. And I mean, it's just like, here's this guy who had all his dreams and stuff built in this beautiful label with these wonderful, Pat Benatar, Billy Idol, Sinead O'Connor, 10 Years After, UFO, the Fabulous Thunderbirds. I mean, you can go down the line and just keep going of really wonderful artists. And it was gone. I mean, that label is just swallowed up by another label, by a hostile buyout, and we became not as important in the scope of it because it was a different label. Chris was not there. So that's how that played, and that's why it ended up going to EMI, and then we were like, this isn't the place. I went to CMC, and then obviously we're putting this out vinyl-wise, just on our own with Kiss My Wax. And it's because they are keeping the integrity of the original recordings from our DATs as the writers and producers of this, and putting it out directly, with the mastering engineer, Maura Applebaum, who's amazing. And it'll sound amazing. I mean, it's just going to change the whole dynamics of what this would have been if we just threw it out on vinyl. And that's the beauty of this. This is not just, a get rich quick. There's a lot of money being spent to have this done right. Whether it's just the box set or just the record itself.
That's exciting.
It is, man. And as a music fan, listening to turntables, I know the difference, when it comes from CD and then to vinyl, and it just sounds like crap,
Yeah, I agree with you, and you can tell. And if it's done properly, everything pops out and it sounds the way it's meant to sound, right?
It's warm. I mean, that's the thing that we all know, and is vinyl guys, is it's warmer. It just, there's also an aspect of listening to a record on vinyl. It just takes you back. Period. That's why it's up 900%. What is that? 900% in a year.
That's huge.
It's huge. I mean, the
awesome
amount of sales is overtaking CDs, because CDs are now, going to be gone. Yeah.
And I have all these CDs. I have tons of CDs.
I know. I transferred all mine years ago. I'm all digital at this point, but I still have some of my albums.
I just moved into the place I'm in right now, and I had literally, I have about 1,500 CDs. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
that's where I was. And you know what? To burn those, even to MP3, and again, that's not, MP3s sound like crap.
They do. I agree.
It just sounds terrible unless you can burn it to waves, and now you can actually do it with the larger drives to do it that way.
Yeah.
But I just got to the point where I'm like, man, I'm losing a whole wall to CDs.
Well, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Because I'm only here for a short time, so I was like, I had all these CDs in boxes, and I got these from my mom. So all my CDs are on my mom's because I'm moving again. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to, I have this whole wall, right? So I kind of like the way you did it. But you know what? Then I don't have,
No, then you lose a product. And to be
That's
honest
right.
with you, there's something about knowing the liner notes and knowing what happened and who played on it and who the writers are, and that information is sadly about to be lost, except for what people put on Wikipedia, and then somebody else puts it up there and changes it, and then it's gone forever. And it's just all bullshit.
It is bullshit.
That's the sad part of it.
Now, I wanted to ask you about Unknown Destination. I really listened to that track last week, and I noticed a few things that I'd never noticed before. I didn't notice that it had this wicked Iron Maiden vibe to it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That's what I got out of it. And I was like, Dana's bass playing, as always, is unreal because he's an awesome bass player.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, that harmony solo, which is very Iron Maiden, did you and Tim both play that? Or did Tim?
Yes, we did. Uh-huh.
And that sounds killer. And
we kind of worked that through even on the demos. And again, that's where we came from. That's where I came from. That's where, Tim was a metalhead. He was more of a metalhead than I was, but he was way into Metallica and I was a Maiden. I was that earlier guy, Priest and Maiden. Of course, Tim loved that as well, but two guitar players that are working melodically. I think that's a key point with anything that we've tried to do. It's never something of just playing for the sake of playing, but there's a melodic structure to it. Maiden, Boston, whoever it is, it was always something that has said something as opposed to, guitar masturbation. It's just, I'm over that.
Well, the cool thing was that as I was listening to that guitar solo, and then I'm focusing on Dana's bass a little bit, and I'm like, okay, that one section sounds like Maiden, but then it sounds like Heaven and Hell. It's like it totally took a turn. It was amazing. I was like, wow, man, that is so cool.
Yeah, rock where your roots are. I mean, loved Ronnie, loved even the years of Sabbath. That was a great record. All those guys played great on that. Vinny played great on that as well. Vinny Appice. I mean, there's such great stuff on that on those old records. I mean, that's your musical environment and what you listen to is going to influence how you write or the flavors that you might have, and you pick up on it because you know it. And this is somebody else. They go, well, that's really cool, because they don't know Maiden, they don't know Heaven and Hell, or I'm sure most people do, but the thing is that you get into the younger crowd, the older we get, the less that it's going to be out there. So, it just starts making its own imprint of what your flavors are instead of where it came from.
Yeah. I think as, I don't know, and I could be wrong on this, but we seem to, as people that listen to music years ago, we kind of dissected a lot of things more, I think.
Sure.
You know
we cared about who recorded it. We cared about who produced it. We cared about, who stepped in the studio and if Glenn was playing the solo or you always wanted to know who it was, or KK, or you just want to know who the players are at that time. That's something you cared about.
Yeah. And that's bizarre. And which kind of leads me to my next point. I've been listening to the Slaughter albums, not just Fear No Evil, a lot lately. Mm-hmm. And I always knew that your vocals were very strong, but I did not realize how much layering is on so many of the tracks. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm singing an octave down below things,
It's crazy.
On some of it. Yeah. It's just, you work for what the song, it's a wild life. I mean, I'm singing that underneath the higher part. So it's like, it just sounds more bigger. It just sounds better when you layer it that way, and again, when you get into layering like Queen and or Boston or any of this stuff, I mean, those are the bands that we listen to, and they would layer and then step out of it. In other words, you layer in the right places and then step out of it. So you're getting an effect or a statement, so to speak, as opposed to, hey, we got, 24 open tracks, let's do something, it's for the right reasons,
Well, sonically, it sounds amazing, right? Yeah, and especially when you listen to it through headphones. It's like
headphones, you can really hear it.
You can really hear it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I did not realize that you sang on, until a recent interview you did, that you sang on Bang Go the Bells by Babylon AD.
Yeah. It was Cal Swan and I. We did.
Oh,
it was
okay,
just
from Lion.
Yeah, it was just the two of us. Yeah.
That is cool. So I went back.
And it sounds like, bang go the bells. And it was, and then he did that with me. And, there's a mix of the
there's
two
a
of
low
us.
there
you can
too,
hear it.
right?
What's that?
There's a low in there too, right?
Yeah,
like
that's me in the low.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that. So I went back and listened to it. And I'm trying
immediately
to
you hear it. I'm sure you immediately hear it and go, I do hear it. But we weren't credited. This is in the Vinnie Vincent time. They're like, hey, we're not going to print you're not in the liner notes, but here's a lot of money. And we're like, okay.
We'll do it.
Yeah.
That's cool,
a lot of money. Now we're talking. Yeah, I don't need my name in it, but good, it's a good record. The guy did a really good job in the production. It was a different. It's weird because with Strum and I, when we record, I'll be singing and he'll be rewinding the tape at the time and just be slamming me in there. And we get this rhythm. It's kind of like a batting cage. We're just like knocking it out, And then you get in with a different producer and it's like, let me listen to that. And then you listen to it and then you go, okay, let's do another one. So it was like not that quick rhythm that I was used to doing it, but that's how he did it, and he did a good job. But it's just different. Everybody works a different way.
Yeah, it's cool. I had no idea. I always thought it was just the band. I was like, oh, the band went and did background vocals. But then when you actually focus on it, you're like, okay, there's time put into this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there was time put into it. It was layered. It was a good day to do the backgrounds on that whole record.
That's cool.
But that was one of the big ones they wanted us to really layer it out. I can't remember the other songs. I haven't heard it in so long.
Yeah. Now I wanted to mention this. I was robbed last year. I lost 4 guitars and 200 vinyls. And ironically enough, they didn't steal my Slaughter vinyl, but they didn't steal anything from Epps, which was kind of weird. I don't think they had any more hands to get anything out.
Right.
So,
S and forward. Yeah, exactly. So Scorpions and us were side by side. Yeah.
Scorpions got stolen. But
there you go.
Skid Row didn't. Slaughter didn't.
Yeah, because you're getting the SKs, SLs. Yeah, I can see that. That's where they stopped. That's funny.
So I wanted to. I know you've talked about this a few times, and this is the Wildlife vinyl, which they didn't take. So this was only ever released by Columbia House, I believe.
What does it say on the back of that? Because
I think
there
it
might have
says
been
CRC. I think it does. Let's see here. It's usually at the bottom. I'm pretty sure I found that on there that it did say CRC. Actually, I think it's on the insert.
Because sometimes, Canada would do, Canada is a different country. So,
that's right.
I think there were some in Canada. That's a Chrysalis label, right?
Yeah. It's CRC though, Mark.
Yeah.
It does say CRC on it. I think I bought it on eBay, to be honest with you. I didn't get it when it first came out, so I hunted it down.
Right. Crazy. Yeah, I mean it's not easy to find any Slaughter on vinyl.
No.
And it was because in 1990 when we were doing Stick It To You, Chris said to us, "Look, we're no longer going to be doing vinyl. It'll be CD and cassette only."
Yeah.
And we were like, "Why?" And he goes, "Well, vinyl sales are gone. It's over. There's no more vinyl." And, it's almost like CDs. It's almost like everybody just said, okay, we're not making CDs anymore. And all the car manufacturers said, yeah, now we're not going to put CD players in the car. I mean, it's just like, CD players and computers, DVD players and computers, it's gone.
I know.
Now it's just going to gone. It's going to be floppy disk of the next generation, which is sad, Well, but that's where that's the truth of where it's how technology just changes and it just leaves all the stuff in the dust.
So they obviously didn't master it for vinyl then. they probably just.
No, they didn't master for vinyl. I think that a lot of these, I don't think that there's any mastering done on any of that. I'd be surprised if there was somebody else who walked in and used their ears. And again, we were there with Bob Ludwig when we mastered those other records. I mean, we were there through every process from front to end. Mm-hmm. Dana and I.
They sound sonically. They sound amazing. Like,
oh, thanks. But
they really do.
It was painstakingly done from front to end to make sure that it was done right. And, Bob was, he's great. He was great at it. So, we went to the best and, went in there and we brought it in every format. People don't know this, but you master off what sounds the best to you or what he thought sounded the best. So we came there with 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, DAT, every format that we could bring in for him. And we said, this 2-inch sounds really good. And he's like, oh, we're not going to do things off a 2-inch. And he goes, you know what? That 2-inch sounds the best. And the reason why is because the magnetic print of the head on the machine that we used had a bump right around that, 100 to 200K that really bumped the sound and gave a warmth to that he didn't have to try to put in as a mastering engineer to get that out of it, meaning a EQ. Mastering is the EQ and the compression on the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he did not have to do it. And he's like, yeah, you're right. It sounds better. So that's why we ended up using that instead.
That's cool. Now, my Stick It To You copy on vinyl is from England.
Right.
Very thin.
Apply. Yeah.
Very thin.
And it's very much, again, your record clubs, England, Germany, and that was it for that record.
Yeah.
And very, very hard to get a hold of those.
Now
and there's a box set. Hold on. I think I have it over here. Hold on.
Okay.
Because we can. There was a box set of this, which I have held on to for a million years.
That's amazing.
And this was Fly the Angels live, Loaded Gun live. It's a picture disc.
Picture disc.
And it has literally, here's the original T-shirt, Up All Night. In fact, 5 to follow. So this is the first one that came, and I got it from Bud, our manager. Please find the attached summary of the story so far, the future plans I consider primary territory. So it's like talking about the UK visit, what we're going to do, where they were going to put print ads, Metal Hammer, Rock Hard, Breakout, Metal Star, Live Wire, Blast Off, LP sales, or it's a whole breakdown.
That's amazing.
Within this that I got from again, the manager gave it to me, and the other, again, I haven't opened this in years. Slaughter Itinerary. It's literally our whole promotional schedule, and there's the original. Yeah. The original photo. I mean, in pristine condition, I might add. Up All Night, single. The Buttons. Spend My Life. There. That's the video.
Yeah.
And ultimately, which you might have seen separate, the picture disc.
I've never seen that. Or maybe I have. I thought it's cool.
Get this. And the craziest part of it, the first video.
No way. Wow.
Yeah, it was all in this little box set at that time, plus the Slaughter buttons. Very, very, England-y cool. They always had the cool shit there.
They did.
As a collector, you know that. It was just really cool.
That's very cool.
That's what, and there it comes with also a door hanger that says Up All Night, Sleep All Day. You flip it around, it says Up All Night. Turn around the other side, it says Sleep All Day.
That's
And
exciting.
the door hanger, like, what you put on the outside of your hotel room or something.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, and there
That's
was
cool.
also one that we put out. It was a up all night pack here in the United States. It came with earplugs, a night mask so cover your eyes, like when you're sleeping on a plane,
Yeah.
and I think it was like some headache medicine, like something for a hangover, and it was pretty cool. And it was this, and there's a door hanger.
Wow.
So that was it. We had some fun promotion. Again, the label with us in the beginning, the cost of doing the record was so much cheaper than what everybody else is coming in at.
Because you guys did it all, right?
That's right. That's right. We invested our time into it so that we could do those special things instead of spending all the money in the front end of it. We spent the money as it was going out.
Yeah. I remember when the album came out, but for some reason I didn't go to the show. But when Slaughter first came to Toronto with, or maybe it was the second time, I remember seeing you guys on Much, but with Kiss and Whitesnake and Faster Pussycat. And a couple of my buddies went, and I remember my buddy buying this white Slaughter t-shirt with fluorescent Up All Night. I think it was fluorescent on the back or something.
Correct.
Like that. But they came home and they were like, man, Slaughter kicked butt.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, they were, and I still remember that. It was awesome.
It's funny. It's coming from where I was at VVI into this, the band was really just, for local. I felt like we were the guys next door. We really weren't trying to put on an act of like, this is how we look. And, I'd wear a t-shirt and jeans and a pair of tennis shoes. I could run around all over, Reebok, so I could run around the stage. It's more important for me able to run around the stage than it was to look apart.
Yeah.
So I think it was about the music, and it was about the songs, and it was about, we enjoyed bringing the party of the band into, bringing the audience even backstage. Kiss, a lot of times they'd say, listen, there's enough. You got too many people back here. You need to get everybody out. There's 300 plus people here. This is too much. We loved that. We loved to share the moment. We love to share the moment with fans. And, you're allowed so many tickets for every show. If we didn't give them away, meaning that they wouldn't take it from radio people or whatever, we'd go out on Vlas and I, or Dana and I, or Tim and I, or those guys would go do it on their own, and we'd give those tickets away to fans.
That's amazing. And
because it was just a special thing just to say, hey, thank you. Because we didn't take it for granted. We were really thankful for every step of that from the front to end.
Yeah, and it's funny because I mentioned this to Bobby Rock. I said, you know what? I said, when Vinnie Vincent came out, the second album, I didn't know what Mark sounded like. I said, you'd see him in the magazines. And I said, it wasn't until the second album that you heard what Mark sounded like. And I have to be honest, I don't think I was as taken by it as I was when the Slaughter album came out. And I have to, because when that Slaughter album came out, I said to myself, I'm like, this is what I was expecting with that Vinnie Vincent record on your vocals. And it showed, to me, it was a different band. I don't even know how to determine. It is,
and it was. Well, and again, it's not, it's not like, Vinny's a great writer. I mean, he can't stand me, and that's fine. But, I don't have anything negative to say. If you don't have something nice to say, what the hell, But he wrote some great songs, and he has, I have good chord knowledge. He has really good chord knowledge. But that doesn't mean that, I haven't grown as a musician and as a producer and everything that I've done in my own right here. So, I mean, I haven't stopped making music. So, where are we all at now? You know what I mean?
Well, exactly.
This is my day. This is my day. I'm bouncing backgrounds and imprinting things, on another computer as we're having this interview right here.
That's amazing.
That's what I do.
And I don't mean that in any disrespect to Vinny. It was just when Slaughter came out, I think it was a time when it was just more appealing.
It is just, I think it's a believability is what it is. And I think
That's a good way to put
what it is in that side of it. It's believable when you write your own lyrics. It's believable when you write your own music. It just, there's something about it that you're saying your story. And that was something that Dana was, what would you say? What do you think? What are you thinking on this? We kick around melodic ideas, but I'd say, this is how I feel. This is what I think. And it was still pushing my feelings so that I could deliver that message honestly, instead of somebody else writing it and it's not true, But he knew me good enough to say, wouldn't you do this, or wouldn't you try that, or why don't you say this? I mean, he is a good partner in what we do together. And that's the beauty of, this many years. I mean, I met him in 85. I just found a picture. He was working with a band called Sin, and he called me up. They were holding vocalist auditions. He called me up and said, I heard you're a good vocalist. Why don't you come down and sing some backgrounds, and I can hear what you do. And I drove from Las Vegas after teaching all day. At 6 o'clock, I called it an hour and a half earlier than I normally would. And I drove after teaching and sang background with a big old jug of water. And I sang backgrounds, and Black and Blue was there in the studio at the same time. So they sang backgrounds, and cool. Tommy Thayer and I were like, I've known those guys a million years. And that was the first time I met Dana, and Tommy was there. Wow. And so, life is just this interwoven of creative people who are creative, just doing what we do. You don't think about it at the time. We're just like, yeah, it's cool. Let's do something else. It's just, we're caught up in the energy of the rock and roll freaking story right there that we're all loving to be a part of. And, you look back on it and you go, man, that was really cool. That's awesome. I found a picture of Tommy standing over behind Dana having a beer, and I'm off to you can't even see me in the picture because I'm just off to the side, but you can see, Tommy and Dana. I was like, look at that. That's the day I met Dana, the first day. And look, that was you. And, I sent it over to him. He's like, that's crazy, but I mean, that's the beauty of it all. Look where he's gone in his career and where he's wound up, and does a phenomenal job with Kiss. Phenomenal job. Yeah, he came through here. I was like, dude, I watched you the whole night, man. You didn't screw up once. That's awesome. And he goes, that I appreciate that. I'm sure you're looking for me. I go, me. That's just as guitar players, that's what we do, man. You know? And when you see somebody nail it, you go, man, kudos to you. You nailed it. Good job, man. Freaking, you just nailed it.
I mean, I was always happy.
And that's always a Black. That's why he's doing it,
Yeah, and I always loved him in Black and Blue. So when he joined Kiss, I mean, there might have been a lot of fans that didn't know who he was, but I always knew who he was. So I was happy that he was doing the gig, right?
Well, you know what? It comes a point to where, and I'm sure that's part of it. It's no different than when Tim passed away. It was like we knew a lot of good guitar players. There's a zillion of them, and good people we know in other bands and that were free and could have done it. But Blando was our sound man, and he knew Tim, and he was part of our rolling circus out there. It was just a natural course of bringing him in for that next phase for the band, because I think Tim would have wanted that in that side. And then Dave Marshall was one of Tim's best friends, and he's a great guitar player too. But we had already done road stuff with Blando day in, day out. And although Dave Marshall did the Japanese dates that Tim was not able to do because Tim was he couldn't fly. He wasn't able to fly from being a bonehead as a kid, So But Dave's, again, great players. We're lucky to have the cast of great musicians that we've had around us that have been in and out to keep the music going.
It's awesome. So, Mark, before I let you go, I want to thank you. This looks amazing too, by the way. The halfway there.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Man, that looks.
That was mastered. That was recorded and mastered for vinyl. And that was the first record I ever did for vinyl. I mean, think about that. This far in my 2017 going,
that's crazy.
Make a record for a record. I don't care, man. I'm going to make a record, And that was how I wanted it to play. And I wanted it to take you like good vinyl records do. You put it on, you go, wow, that's really cool. And that was a concept with that first and foremost.
That's cool. It looks good. I mean, I bought the CD first and I got I think the ones that you signed and with the pick in it. But then I saw that and I was like, I got to buy that. Yeah. So it was all good.
How does it sound different on vinyl? Being a vinyl enthusiast to CD, do you notice a difference?
Yeah, it like I said, I mean, it's a little. The CDs, I always find the drums on CDs are always different. For me, I always find that the drums sound more digitalized, and that's what I prefer about vinyl is that less digital drum sound, especially a snare. I always find the CD snares, it drives me crazy. So with that,
they do a thing. There's a thing that they do. Yeah, there's a thing that they do for people that are unaware how they do it. There's a thing they call it brick wall mastering. So they'll take, a wave is like this. A sound wave is like that, just like a wave in the ocean. Yeah. So a small wave, treble, is like this. A large wave, which is bass, goes like this. So when you come to a concert and you're the reason why you hear the bass is because that, like a small wave will hit a surface and it'll go disappear. Yeah. So the only thing is left is the larger waves. That's why you hear the larger waves in a distance. So put this into perspective of when you're listening to a CD, they squash the waves down. They just take the waves and they squash it like this. So when you squash that, the drums sound different.
Yeah.
So a hit like this has it's a square wave in essence. And a square wave technically is distortion. And MP3s do it, and CDs do it, and anybody does that brick wall mastering, it's a distortion. Instead of turning up your volume to get that warmth, you're actually already getting it, and it's perceived as louder, but it's actually hurtful to your ears because it's actually a square wave. So the difference, scientifically, it's not as good to listen to that as it is to vinyl.
I know, and that's what drives me.
And that's the only way to describe that, know.
And that makes sense. I honestly, I'm gonna have to listen to them back to back and really focus on it because it was so much after I had bought the CD that I listened to the vinyl, and then as soon as I get the vinyl, I really don't listen to the CD anymore. Right. So I'd have to.
Well, it's different, and I didn't want to overly squash it. The end result was really good. I had a really good engineer to do the mix on it, who's better at mixing than I would be. It gets to a point to where, look, art is never finished. It's just abandoned. And as an artist, you keep doing stuff. You just keep doing and doing and doing and doing and doing and changing, doing this. Art, you have to abandon the art to be done with it. So it's like art is never finished, it's just abandoned. So it's really never finished. It just comes to a point where you just say that's enough.
Yeah.
So that's what I've learned to do in the last 10, 15 years of this world is to go, it's good enough. If it needs to be better, I'll let somebody else deal with it so that it becomes them who end it instead of me. And it's different, and everybody hears it different. I had all this big orchestra stuff going on the first solo record, and Michael Wagner pulled it down. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's where, that's where he heard it.
Yeah.
But I could solo the orchestra, and I mean, it's a full-blown, thing going off that I did here, but it doesn't matter for the song. And again, for him as a producer engineer is different than somebody who just goes in and just listens to it.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
Everybody's got their take,
That's true.
Everybody's got their take.
And I heard he's retired.
He's retired. I talked to him yesterday, and he sent me pictures. He goes, "Look at this," and it was like his stuff packed up. I think some guys in New Zealand bought his whole studio, and I said, "I'm happy for you, and I'm really sad."
I'm kind of sad because the world's losing a great producer.
Well, I said in the same sentence, I said, but if you ever wanted to record, it's not like you have to just do it in your studio.
That's true.
You can go into another studio. Like I keep giving him the, get out of jail free card. Because you're right. He's a talent. He's a wonderful human being. Love him. And it's funny. I didn't know him until I moved here to Nashville.
Wow.
Because we produced our own records, so right. I didn't know Michael, and it's been a really nice friendship first and foremost, and a learning experience of knowing him. So cool. It's been wonderful for sure.
That's awesome. Now, I have to ask you this because you mentioned the thing about the Kiss tour, and Bobby Rock told me if I ever had you on my show,
right,
that he said there was something that you did on the bus when you guys were touring together. An impersonation that he said I have to ask you to do.
What's that?
Gene.
You
see, it's one of those things when you're doing a vinyl show, you have to talk about Kiss records because there's nothing better than a Kiss vinyl that is brought by Kiss exclusively from Kiss by Wax or the real label, and that's how we do it.
That's so good. Thanks, Mark.
That's man, it's funny, man. We all give each other a hard time in this industry, but we are really, really all lucky to be able to, to make the music, to have the laughs, and Bobby, my years with Bobby and VBI are, he's one of the brothers, man. We went out there into battle together. So he's an incredibly talented drummer.
He's a great guy
and a wonderful friend. And it's funny how as you get older, you start to really admire the people who are still there and still the constant in your life. And Bobby's certainly one of those people.
That's awesome.
That's for sure. Good guy.
Yeah. I've spoken to him a few times, and he's always a pleasure.
And he's got a supplement he's doing right now. It's Dragon Dirt, and it's I did it for a while, and it's great. You put it in. It's just like all those earthy things. There is literally that earthiness to it, but there's one guy who studied nutrition probably more than any one of us in that side of it. He's a picture of health, that's for sure.
Oh, that he is. I get his weekly updates via email.
Oh, do you? Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I love it. It's great.
Yeah,
it's really good.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy. Again, he had an addictive personality, and he channeled it in the right way. Yeah. He really did. And it's just wonderful to see this guy who's just probably one of the most amazing clinicians I've ever seen as a drummer. And again, I was in his band. Hey, can you do this to your right hand? Do this to your left foot? And it became like a challenge, and he could do all that. I mean,
that's
he's
crazy.
That guy. He's, he called it the octopus thing. He just have, spinning plates, so to speak. But
that's awesome.
Yeah. Good guy. Amazing. Good guy.
Well, Mark, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and you know, for those enthusiasts that are looking for something, there's also a golden ticket that's going to be
Oh, I
in
forgot to
the
mention
larger
that.
the larger
Yes.
box set. That was the band's idea to do something just to give away, you know, a lifetime free show to whomever gets that golden ticket. But you know, again, we were involved with this from front to end, and all these other things that we're going to be doing with Kiss My Wax. We will be involved all the way through it. It's not us just throwing things out. It's not a money grab. This is us creating a time capsule of these records in the finest form that we can do it. So looking forward to you hearing that as well. And
I can't wait to get it.
you know, thanks for listening to our music along with all the other rock bands that you're into. And you know, we're real lucky. So thank you very much, Tyson.
Okay, Mark, thanks so much, and have a great night. And
You too. We'll see you in Canada real soon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can't wait.
absolutely.
Okay, man.
Yeah.
All
right.
Take it easy.
Thanks again.
Okay,
All right,
thank
bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.